Recording in progress.
Good morning po.
Morning po, Ma'am Camille. Am I
Yes,
heard?
good morning, Dr. Erwin and Sir Charles. Ako po, I'm Camille po. I'm the technical staff po of the CLG office. Good morning po, Dr. Erwin.
Malinaw po. Malinaw naman. Yung boses ko. Malinaw.
Yeah. Dr. Erwin.
Ma'am Camille, malinaw po.
Yes po.
Yes po, please.
Yes ma'am. Just test din ako and then tama naman po yung background ko. Hindi ba siya balik?
Hello, Sir Erwin.
Yes po. Ano po? Malinaw po ba? I'm asking. Can you verify kung malinaw o hindi? Sa'yo, malapit po. Parang ano? Wala na ulit ko. Ayan, ganyan po. Wala na akong magagawa sa mukha ko. Ganito.
Sir Charles, hello.
Yung opening remarks ko naman.
Hi, Dean. Morning po.
Mahaba yun, di ba?
Hi, Dean. Morning. Am I heard? Narinig po ako.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Ayan, yan na, clear.
Baka it's just na microphone. Lapit ko na lang.
Oh, sige po, sir.
Yan na, documentation report. Ikaw ba, sir?
Sir Erwin, naka-streaming na po tayo. We'll start at exactly 9 o'clock po.
Okay. Hindi ko nakikita. Siyempre, hindi ko makita yung in attendance dito. Di ba? Naka-attend lang dito sa Zoom or the speakers. Pero sina Mitchville ba or will be online through the streaming?
Yung board, sir, pinapapasok ko sa dito sa Zoom. I'll
Okay.
remind po.
Hindi, para alam ko lang nababatiin kung sino babatiin ko.
Anyway naman po, online naman. We'll assume na online sila. Pag
We'll
hindi
assume
sila
they're-
pumasok dito.
So, batiin ko na lang sila lahat.
Eh, opo. Sir. Wait lang po, sir.
can hear you
Ma'am
po.
Nor, si Sir Erwin Alampay po is the Deputy Secretary General ng ASPA po.
Hello.
From UPNC Pag, ma'am.
Hello po.
And si
Yes,
Charles
I
is
think I
our student
remember.
in the grad school.
Hello, kumusta,
We are
Dr.
still waiting,
Alampay?
ma'am, yung ibang board members to join us here in our Zoom.
Okay na.
Okay.
Hello.
Let me see.
Ma'am, wala ng audio po. Hello.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you po.
Good, good. Can you hear me as well online?
Dali lang po, ma'am Nors. Hello.
Oo. Okay lang.
Kita naman po kayo. Although wala pa po yata yung background nyo, yung virtual background nyo po.
Let me just see.
Hello.
Hello?
Ma'am Nors, just few lines po.
Sandali lang ha. Teka muna. Hello there. Can you... Hello? Teka ha. I'm trying to close all my PowerPoint here. Teka ha. Cancel. Close. Teka. Sandali ha. Okay. Hello, can you hear me? Sandali ha. Okay, okay. Sandali lang ha. Save, close. Sandali ha. I'm trying to figure out kung paano ko i-increase itong aking volume. But is it good enough for you to hear me now? Okay, so what would you prefer? Kasi I can change my video. Sandali ha. Okay. I'm just trying to close everything here kasi ayan. Teka ha. Merong akong cancel. Ito siguro na lang. Can I try sharing my screen? Hello? Can I try sharing my screen?
Go, Charles.
Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, and dear participants, welcome to the webinar on Transcending Theories to Applications through Service Learning, the third and final series of our webinar on navigating the pedagogy of public administration in the new normal. We are delighted to have you with us today. I am your online host, Charles Michael Castillo Salas, a graduate school student of the Master in Public Business Administration and Master in Public Administration cluster of the Ateneo de Naga University. To give everyone a background of our webinar, Ateneo de Naga University Center for Local Governance recently established and solidified a partnership with the Association of Schools of Public Administration in the Philippines Incorporated, or ASPAP Incorporated, a national organization established in 1979 comprising private academic institutions. ASPAP is an active network committed to advancing public management, administration, and governance throughout the Philippines through approaches such as resources, research projects, faculty development initiatives, and collaborative assistance to the government agencies. ASPAP Incorporated aims to enhance the standard of public administration in governance. Ateneo de Naga University's collaboration with ASPAP Incorporated aligns with their shared vision of promoting excellence and innovation in public administration education while contributing to the exchange of knowledge, innovation, and best practices in this field. This partnership highlights Ateneo de Naga University's commitment to fostering policy reforms as part of their dedication to effective public administration and governance. At this point, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to acknowledge the presence of our esteemed participants who are joining us via various live streaming platforms. Of course, joining us via Zoom are our speaker and the officers and board members of ASPAP. We have, of course, the President, Dean Mitchville A. Rivera of Pamantasan ng Lungsod ng Valenzuela, the Vice President for NCR, Dean Elmer M. Soriano, Polytechnic University of the Philippines, the Vice President for Luzon, Dr. Cristina R. Salvosa of Nueva Vizcaya State University, the Vice President for Visayas, Professor Jaya Tricia B. Violena of Palawan State University. Of course, the Vice President for Mindanao, we have Dean Zoraida B. Ali of Mindanao State University, Marawi Campus, the Treasurer, Assistant Professor Juvis Lizette M. Gervasio of the University of the Philippines Open University, our auditor, Dr. Jack Isolana of Mindanao State University, Iligan Institute of Technology. Of course, our Public Relations Officer, Dean Malu C. Barceliano of the Ateneo de Naga University, the Chair of the Membership Committee, Dr. Gretchen Gay C. Ablasa of Benguet State University, the Chair of the Research and Publication Committee, Professor Maricel P. Fernandez Carag of De La Salle College of St. Benil, the Chair of the Continuing Education and Faculty Development Committee, Dr. Maria Rita A. Rio of Isabela State University, the Chair, Linkages and International Relations Committee, Dr. Madeline D. Tinco of Pangasinan State University. We also have the Chair of Fora Conferences Committee, Dr. Victoria P. Valenzuela of Bulacan State University, the Chair, Laws, Rules, and Regulations Committee, Dr. Rene B. Tabahen of the University of Makati, the Chair, Quality Assurance Committee, Dr. Eminel Jane M. Alvior of Ateneo de Davao University, and of course, the Chair, Special Project Committee. We have, at the same time, our President, Dean Mitchville A. Rivera of Pamantasan ng Lungsod ng Maynila. We would like also to acknowledge our participants who are with us live through Facebook, to our official Facebook account and YouTube channel, the Ateneo CLG, from which we can also access our previous webinars. Of course, as of yesterday, we have a total of 280 registered participants coming from different sectors, LGU, non-government, and other private individuals. Allow me, of course, to mention the names of the academic institutions who are joining us today. We have the Ateneo de Naga University, Benguet State University, Biliran Province State University, Bulacan State University, Bataan Peninsula State University, Batangas State University, Bukidnon State University, Capiz State University, Camiguin Polytechnic State College, Cebu Technological University, Dalubasaan ng lungsod ng Lucena, Davao del Norte State College, Ifugao State University, Ilocos Sur Polytechnic State College, Iloilo State University, Laguna State Polytechnic University, Lyceum of the Philippines University, Misamis University, Nueva Ecija University of Science and Technology, Nueva Vizcaya State University, Pangasinan State University, Partido State University, Pamantasan ng Lungsod ng Maynila, Pamantasan ng Lungsod ng Valenzuela, Quirino State University, St. Mary University, Sorsogon State University, Taguig City University, Tarlac State University, Trimex College, Martires City College, University of San Carlos, Western Philippines University. Of course, to everyone, your active engagement is what makes and what will make this event meaningful. So thank you for being with us today. To formally open our webinar, we welcome the College Secretary, Center for Public Administration and Governance Education, National College of Public Administration and Governance, or NCPAG, of the University of the Philippines, and at the same time, the Deputy Secretary General of the Association of Schools of Public Administration in the Philippines, or ASPA. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause to Dr. Erwin Gaspar A. Alampay.
Am I on screen already? Magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat.
Good morning, Sir Erwin.
Good morning po. So, Dean Malu Barceliano, Dr. Leonora Angeles, Dean Christopher Berse, ASPAP President, and Dean Mitchell Rivera, ASPAP Board Officers and members, esteemed partners, online guests, and participants. Speaking on behalf of the Association of Schools of Public Administration in the Philippines and Ateneo de Naga University, our host, I would like to welcome everyone to the last webinar in the series in connection with the theme Navigating the Pedagogy of Public Administration in the New Normal. Today's topic is about transcending theories to applications through service learning. And I recall when I first heard the term service learning, it was when I was just starting my work in the university in the mid-1990s under Dr. Ledivina V. Corino. It was during the early years into the establishment of the Ugnayan ng Pahinungod, or UP's volunteer program. The challenge then for us in the program was how to institutionalize or embed volunteerism in the university life and inculcate the value of service to the nation among our students. It was in that regard that I first learned and heard about service learning, or the actual doing or practicing lessons in class and applying them in real life contexts. Hence, when I learned that the topic for today's event was about service learning in public administration pedagogy, it was something I could easily connect with, given that at that time we also saw many service learning examples being practiced by our own instructors and lecturers in public administration, especially in the bachelor's level where our students were without prior experience in government. Hence, for them, understanding what was being taught, especially the theory, might have been abstract for them. From what I recall then, students were highly appreciative of the learning from outside the classroom. We stress that the education goes beyond the four walls of the classroom. And as we constantly hear and implore the idea of praxis, or the practice and theory of public administration, we hope that today everyone in attendance today enjoys and learns more about using service learning in teaching public administration under the new normal, especially since during the pandemic, I think most of us were constrained to understanding public administration through our screens. So again, I would like to welcome everyone, and I hope you enjoy our topic for today. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Alampay, for your heartwarming opening message. We are now ready for our main topic. Allow me, of course, to introduce our speaker. Dr. Leonora C. Angeles is the director of the University of British Columbia's Institute for Gender, Race, Sexuality, and Social Justice since 2022. Across appointed to the UBC School of Community and Regional Planning, she is also faculty affiliate of at the UBC Center for Human Settlement, or CHS, and the Center for Southeast Asian Research, and the Center for Gender, Sexuality, and Health Equity. She worked on a number of applied research and capacity building research projects in Brazil, Vietnam, Thailand, and the Philippines. Her continuing research interests are on community and international development studies and social policy, participatory planning and governance, participatory action research, and politics of transnational feminist networks, particularly in the Southeast Asia. She is president of the board of the National Filipino-Canadian Cultural Center, NPC3, the past president of Canadian Council on Southeast Asian Studies from 2019 to 2021, recipient of the Queen Elizabeth Diamond Jubilee Award, 2018 Civic Merit Award at the City of Vancouver, and 2021 University of the Philippines Distinguished Alumni Award, Community Planning and Social Transformation. Ladies and gentlemen, join me in welcoming our speaker, Dr. Leonora C. Angeles. A virtual round of applause.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
ma'am. Yes po.
Good evening to everyone. Good morning in Manila time. I've been asked to speak about the topic that you have on navigating public administration pedagogy in the new normal. Essentially, what I'd like to share with you is about transcending theories and strengthening our knowledge application and knowledge mobilization through service learning. So one of the things that I'd like us to learn tonight is essentially how do we create extension and service learning in our current context. I will speak about the context of chaos and the implications of this for public administration education. I will clarify the terms of reference on service learning in public administration context, and I'll make the case for community service learning as engaged learning, and hopefully the challenge of institutionalizing CSL and CEL in our university extension programs and public administration schools. The question of the new normal. Just today, I came from the Faculty of Arts Council meeting, and our discussion is exactly the topic, what's the future of work in the Faculty of Arts under the new normal? And the question is relevant to the public administration pedagogy, teaching and learning, essentially in terms of how do we help each other, our faculty, our students, staff, and administration, and in understanding and navigating this new normal. Ano ba itong new normal na to, no? Paano natin ito magagawa sa public administration, teaching and learning? The way I understand our new normal comes in how can we adapt as human beings to changing circumstances. And there are main textbooks in sociology, in anthropology, that had been around for several decades, if not centuries. And right now, we can see a lot of people in the social sciences talking about our own survival as a humanity, particularly in the context of our fast-changing environment. Will we survive a mass human extinction, as the author of this book, Scatter, Adapt, and Remember, wrote? And anthropologists who are now assisting our social scientists, our people in the humanities and in the applied fields, how can we adapt in the context of future space colonization? Is this going to be our new normal? In this particular book, I'd like you to think about what is going to be the role of public administration before, during, and after space colonization. And there are three premises of this book that you can download for free. You can download a lot of Palgrave Macmillan books online for free. That our migration in outer space is not optional, but in fact, perhaps necessary to avoid the extinction of our species. And public administration would be critical to organizing migration, as it is already doing now, with urban, rural-urban migration domestically, as well as transnationally and globally. Human migration into space, according to them, will be the continuation of the natural processes of human evolution, and that the social sciences more generally, anthropology, and public administration more specifically, I will add, is going to be critical to our successful human migration into space. Now, let's go back to Earth. We are now in the context of a new normal that I consider to be characterized by chaos, which is an acronym I've put to refer to our feeling of climate and reality, not just a feeling of climate hopelessness, helplessness, given the algorithmic overreaching into surveillance. The future of work, the future of public administration is going to be affected by AI. Chaos. What will happen to public administrators who could now be replaced by machines that are familiar with how the human brain works and can learn deeply about this new normal, probably faster than we can fathom? We can also talk about chaos in another sense, that this is going to be in the context of our increasing collective hopelessness as greater authoritarian offensive affecting our security and sovereignty. And universities, public administration schools have an important role to play in navigating this chaotic environment. Just think about what's happening in the Middle East right now, particularly in the Gaza region, in the conflict between Israel and the Palestinian people. We are all affected by this, and it's almost like a pathology, a pathos faced by these populist authoritarian threats, harming our sustainability as a humanity, as a species. And tonight, I'd like you to think about what is the role, what's the important role of public administration in addressing our current chaotic pathos in light of climate change, in light of the algorithmic based intelligence unleashed by big mega corporations, particularly social media conglomerates, and the rise of populist authoritarianism around the world. We live in an interregnum defined by Gramsci as a condition where the old self, the old world is dying, and the new world cannot yet be born. And in this interregnum, a great variety of morbid symptoms appear, including the climate hopelessness that we fear, the mental health and ecological grief that we experience as a result, and of course, the pandemic and the mental health issues that we are experiencing as a result. Now, our collective challenge, I think, in this forum is to think about how can public administration as an interdisciplinary field really take advantage of its very nature and understanding that real world problems no longer respect or they don't understand these different disciplinal divisions that we have been creating in the university. Public administration can be that bridge to different applied fields, basic natural sciences and social sciences to address our interregnum crisis, the pathos of our current chaos, characterized by increased social exclusion and marginalization, as we experience greater climate anxiety and eco grief, the algorithmic injustice we face in our electoral politics, and the anti-democratic political environments that we are seeing today. There are many different forms by which public administration, political science, planning have been doing this. And this is through the integration of service learning within our university extension mission. What are these forms? We're increasingly seeing the importance of different forms of adult education, internships, practicum, work exchanges locally and abroad. We do consulting work. We do continuing education, twinning arrangements. I'd like to see many of your universities, for instance, have partnerships with many universities abroad, including here in Canada. We do a lot of community-based research engagement or CBR, and a lot of community university exchanges and engagement, including having community scholars in residence in universities. And a lot, including myself, a lot of us have been doing community and international development work. I'd like you to think now of what is the difference between service learning and engaged learning. Sometimes these are two different terminologies that we use to refer to the same thing. But I would suggest that there is a slight difference in that while both service and engaged learning capitalize on community service, it is the emphasis on engaged learning where partners are more involved in designing together with their university partners the types of field education and the types of volunteer and internship possibilities that are available in our public administration schools. How do we define community service learning in the first place? Essentially, we call it service learning because there is a community service component and an education component. In other words, hindi tayo puro outreach lamang or serve ng community lamang. Kailangan bumabalik din yung learning back into the university through curricular reforms, the way that we design volunteerism in a way that really provides service to beneficiaries that also enrich student learning. So services that communities themselves identify as their need, and internships that provide what we call work integrated learning, or we call WIL here, so that it could relate more specifically to their educational area of study, whether it's planning, public administration, history, In other words, this is not unique to public administration, but CSL can be used in so many types of education within the field and also within the classroom, including, for example, how many of our public administration classes might require students to write letters to the editor of our local newspaper or national newspaper on contemporary burning issues. That is in itself a form of community engaged learning. There are a number of common extension issues that we still need to address, from the ethical dimension regarding may protocol ba tayo that we are following when we engage with our community? What are the terms of reference? How do we prepare our students before they go into the field so that they become more of assets rather than liabilities? What about the overwork and workload issues naman ng ating faculty and staff? Or the engagement that can come in the form of research and publication para naman may brownie points ang ating faculty and staff who are engaged in CSL and CEL. Can we co-design outputs with our community and assist our students in gaining experience in publishing the data and the data collected and analyzed through their extension work or through their CSL, CEL work? So CSL is essentially focused on community interaction and engagement-based learning through processes surrounding a community. So you can be an anthropologist, you can be a historian, but still engage in community service learning. Imagine public administration that's already inherently connected to CSL because since its inception, because of its applied nature, we are already integrating service in the community through our academic courses or extracurricular programs. In the Canadian context, CSL is integrated service with intentional learning activities na mutually beneficial sa university, sa academic unit, and of course to the community organizations or institutions where you want to work. So it can be, we can do CSL not just with communities, grassroots organization, but including churches, nonprofit. We can diversify the institutions. In the United States, the definition of the Community College National Center for Community Engagement focuses on critical reflective thinking and civic responsibility. In other words, what they highlight here really is civic capacity building for better citizenship. My challenge to ASPAC is what would be our definition of community engaged learning or community service learning that will guide the Association of Public Administration Schools in the Philippines. This would be a challenge to us all. In the United States, the National Service Learning Clearinghouse basically talked about combining service and learning objectives, very similar to the Canadian definition that I have provided you earlier. What's in the name? Do we call it CSL or CEL? It really depends, I think, on how you want to frame what you're doing. Is it a form of service or is it a form of engagement or both? At UBC, our preferred term is CEL, and we have established the Center for Community Engaged Learning. Why CEL? This is because within our curricular CEL, there are certain academic content and standards that we try to match with specific student learning goals So we have our university strategic plan, around which we will align our different faculty strategic plans and our faculty level strategic plans and unit strategic plans. So they're all aligned to ensure that our extracurricular activities are connected, well linked to our curricular or core programs. And we need a lot of collaboration between faculty, staff, students, and community organization to really ensure that we meet actual community needs. It has to be, in other words, reciprocal in nature. Yung two-way street siya, hindi lang parasitic one-way benefit, but it goes back not just to the community, so hindi siya one-sided advantage, but it goes back the learning to the university in terms of informing our curriculum, our research, and our publication. So there is meaningful cross-cultural, cross-community learning, and it can be used, as I argued earlier, in any subject or program area, not just in public administration. And I would argue that, in fact, public administration units have a role to play in ensuring that service learning, engaged learning, whatever it is that you want to call it, could be also promoted in other units in our own universities. Hindi siya charity model, kundi based on social justice. That, of course, is needed now more than ever in our society, where we build our own capacity and the capacities of our own communities, not just to work more collaboratively with each other, but also to work better with academic institutions like public administration schools. The most critical is real engaged partnership, where there are mutual benefits for students, faculty, and community. The benefits are numerous. I'll give you an example of what I have done here at my own School of Community and Regional Planning at the University of British Columbia. We have a number of learning mechanisms through internships, similar to what you have already been doing. We have practicum in different forms. We have what we call social learning studio, urban design studio, and indigenous community planning studio. I myself have been involved for 10 years in international planning studio, got stopped because of the pandemic in 2020. And we have done beyond the Philippines planning studio courses in China, Cuba, Costa Rica, and Vietnam. And of course, domestically, locally, I have sent students working with community partners on actual projects that community members and community organizations themselves have identified. And if you're interested to learn more about my current projects in the community, I'm more than happy to discuss them with you so that you can see maybe parallel interests. The rationale behind this, and this is a learning that we have learned from our project in Vietnam, that the traditional universities, that public administration schools in particular, and universities in general must change. Our research should not be extractive anymore. Our training should not be directive. And our government policy should not just be about giving money to communities or framing it in charitable ways. We need to ensure that universities are engaged with communities in what we call co-learning. So co-learning is an even higher ladder than service learning. And that's why our preferred term is engaged learning, to highlight exactly how we can use the experiences from our community outreach and service learning experiences in order to transform universities themselves. So how do we go about this? Okay. So here I'd like to share that this model we call getting to dialogue as the means by which planning schools like us at UBC and perhaps applicable to public administration schools. How do we get to to bring community academia together, in ensuring that we understand that point of A, the perceived needs and priorities of the community, using our resources to ensure that we work well with government and ensure that whatever it is that we do are also policy informed and policy driven and policy relevant. The point of C is oftentimes where government works directly with communities, they bring money, but that will be transformed by all us working together, all three circles of influence, by getting to the point D of dialogue. That government alone, working directly with community, without the academe, without universities, is also not going to be as effective. We need all three circles working together. The benefits for students are many. We develop their critical thinking, their interpersonal and leadership skills. They see immediately why the courses that they take in the classroom are relevant. They gain real-world experience. They can explore better their career options when they see professionals in the field, and they become more engaged citizens as a result. And for us in academia, who are often seen as rather elitist and from privileged backgrounds, our own students are able to work with more diverse populations and demographic. As a faculty member, I will be very honest with you. It was CSL, CEL, this kind of work that really saved my life, because now I have more time to train my students to become more engaged and employ their critical thinking as they work with community. I am able to enhance the relevance of what I'm teaching by engaging students in the community. I'm able to motivate students to make a difference as citizens, as members of their own communities where we are working. I can more meaningfully demonstrate to my students why they have to learn what I am teaching them. And in the process, I also get more research done. I find my own teaching and learning more fulfilling. And I use my community service as data, basis for the data that I'm going to collect and analyze. I don't have to tell you the many benefits for the community. Oftentimes there's stress. The planning staff, for example, in a typical planning unit in a major city, no matter how well funded they are, they're always in search for students who can help them. So additional human resources din siya. It can enhance their existing program. And I think more importantly, for instance, when we did this community service learning in Naga City, the first time I did it in 2007, we were able to, I think, open up the eyes of the planning and development office in Naga City. To influence future leaders through better linkages with colleges and universities. The personal benefits are immense for us all. because we are really demonstrating what citizenship means in action through our own personal development, in our own teaching and learning in the academe. I'd like now to go into the last part of my talk, which is on paano naman natin to ini-institutionalize. What are the requirements and the processes that we need to think about? The first one really is basic. Collaborate, collaborate, collaborate. This is very critical. And it's not about networking alone. It's about deep listening, active listening to what is it that our community partners are telling us. We need to ensure that the community organizations and leaders that we're working with become co-educators themselves, that we are not just the ones teaching our students, but they're the ones as well who are our partners, our co-teachers, our team teachers in our CSL work. We must see CSL, CEL as a specialization that we should nurture. Our specialists within public administration schools, for instance, could act as the primary liaison between the university and our community partners. They are our savvy translator, diplomat, matchmaker, who will be looking for opportunities where we could find not just matching faculty members who have the knowledge base and the understanding of particular community problems, but also ensure that the students are well prepared for the work that they're supposed to do. The partnership is working if our CSL specialists have a very clear vision of what CSL, CEL programs could do. They are our leaders in ensuring that the design of the service placement itself, that the course and program construction, and I'm more than willing to share my course outline for you in my CSL courses, that what is built in is the output that's going to be important for the community members, as well as the plan for engagement all throughout from beginning to end, how it's going to be sustained, and what sort of outputs could be generated from the partnership. So in doing this, we need to think about the three key elements. So there is the service in a community setting, an academic component, the design of the course itself. So meron ba tayong departure? Let's say we're going to work in another city or in another region or away from our own university campuses. Meron ba tayong orientation seminars? Are there relevant course readings that we are assigning in the CSL course? Are there good review questions we're asking them in their preparation? Meron bang field research component? Do we provide them with seminars or lectures before they go? And do we also debrief or digest what they learned after we meet with them in the field? Structured ba yung reflection in the learning that we're doing back in the academia, whether it's in the form of reflection journal entries or peer feedback or group discussion debriefing? I like the reflection part of CSL because this is where we are able to ensure that the students are really transformed, just like the faculty and staff get transformed in the course of their working with different community organizations. It is a continual and careful reflection that will generate those aha moments, those eureka moments that will generate meaningful learning that we can now disseminate to a wider audience through the community work that is become the basis of any research reports and publication that we can disseminate to a wider community. Okay? We need to assist our students in making high quality reflection, and we can only do that by modeling, by showing and forever questioning our own location, our own positionality, our own limited assumptions, for instance, before we went into a community. So we need to ensure that the way we do work is ethical. We challenge our own prejudices, ensuring we go out of our comfort zone, and to really apply critical thinking principles all throughout our engagement. We can also develop evaluation rubrics as far as the quality of the reflections that the students are giving. In my case, I asked the students to do a journal entry, a reflection every week, when they come back from the field. And then I ask them to share each other's reflections so that they can support and nurture each other, especially when they're working abroad and they're really just absorbing everything. Their whole environment is new, their own classmates and the people they're working is new. They might not even know the local language. And so the reflection component almost becomes like group therapy for them, and and with my support, the students are also learning from each other as their own peer. So in Naga City in 2007, I had the privilege of working with then Mayor Jesse Robredo and the Chief of Planning in Willie Priles, the City Planning and Development Officer in Naga at the time. Then we went to Playa del Bulacan, my hometown, and eventually moved to 8 other municipalities in Bulacan to work at many different issues and problem areas, problem spaces identified by our partners in Bulacan municipalities. These are just some example. In 3 years, we assisted 8 Bulacan municipalities in their LCCAP, or Local Climate Change Adaptation Plan. Our pedagogical and research methods were various. So besides our lecture, our field visits, we did interviews with teachers, with planning staff, with local officials, with church leaders. We did workshops. We asked for the primary documents that are important for us to analyze. We collected statistics from the local offices, and we did, of course, ethnographic participant observation to look at the different climate change related challenges related to municipal and city planning, from water security, food security, transportation, land use, disaster, and looking at community resilience as a whole. We wanted to find out what really worked in the community whenever there are disasters and how they can prepare better for future disasters. Our willingness of community partners, however, can lead to accessing diverse knowledge from local people. And this is something that is so clear in my students' learning. They learn that local knowledge is really so key to making our communities more resilient to disasters and to climate change impacts. But there are many challenges. Being strangers to any community that we're working with, we ask how are we often perceived? Are we outsiders who are just simply parachuting ourselves for a month or two at best and then eventually leaving the community? Or do we leave something behind that they could remember us by, oftentimes in the form of our final research reports and presentation? Interdisciplinarity and pluriculturalism also is a challenge. In order for us to gain credibility, we really need to bring a whole batch of students with different interdisciplinary background. And I think this is the advantage of public administration. We get students from many diverse backgrounds, just like in planning. This is just a sample of batch 2014 students, where they come from, the different disciplines where they come from. I had students from Spain, Colombia, Canada, and the US who all went to the Philippines. And because of this, of course, we had a burden of perception. Oftentimes, the expectations of the community are so high, and we are aware that the service to the community that we can give is rather limited. And that in itself is something that we need to problematize. Most recently, the NPC3 nonprofit that we have done uh, had resulted in asking this question of what's the role of arts, particularly theater and performance, in community engaged learning, particularly the growing Filipino community here in Vancouver, in Metro Vancouver. We are currently looking at Philippine-Canada Migration Theater Connection, asking the question of what happens when theater migrates? What happens when Philippine migration themes become part of theater and theatrical and dance performances? What's the role of arts in our own engagement with the community? Because we 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 believe that arts and culture and cultural expression are the most accessible ways of learning with the community. So here I asked you then, what new frontiers of service learning or community engaged learning in public administration can you think of? Beyond the usual climate change, disaster risk reduction, or perhaps even public health. Are there ways by which we can think about what's the role of AI, for instance, in our own community service learning program? And conversely, how can we ensure that the institutionalization of community-based collaborative research-oriented service learning programs in our communities get sustained? I challenge us all to think about 5 strategic areas that we can think of moving forward. The first one is sustainability through core resource allocation. This is something that is a challenge for any university, including here at my own university. Unless our universities really support community engaged learning, not just through the usual business as usual outreach work, we will not be able to do our work effectively. We need to ensure that resources are made available to identifying and selecting appropriate partners. If we have to find funding from government and non-government organizations through our own university channels, why not? After all, the benefits are going to be mutual. Secondly, we need to think of collaborative and creative public administration partnership at multiple scales and sites. Hindi lang po yung parang the usual suspects. We need to open up and increase or expand the net of potential partners with whom we could collaborate. The more dense our networks, the more partners and partnerships we could create, the more we can tap into improving our own evaluation processes and the learning feedback mechanism through our multiple partnerships. How many of us, for instance, have worked with our regional or district CHED offices? These are, I would consider, some low-hanging fruits or the beyond the LGUs. What about churches? What about the temples and mosques? What about the different hometowns associations, where a lot of the balikbayans in our communities can be tapped for this partnership? How many of us have worked with public markets or parks and school boards, if we have any in our LGUs? The third area is in addressing naman our own capacity building needs within our own community outreach or community service learning programs. I know UP for a time, the Panhinugod program, I actually wonder how over time the Panhinugod program had been evaluated internally by UP to see its accomplishments over the years. Do we provide, let's say we want to work in another province, do we provide local language training if there is, for instance, a specific dialect, or at least conversationally, to help our students and our faculty members? What about the timeline? Can we design it in a way that we understand each other's mandate, each other's calendar or schedule, so to speak? Are we able to assist the capacity building efforts of our community partners through our very service learning program? Number 4, can we support our institutional champions of service learning? How do we do this? Do we compensate them? Do we give them bonuses? Do we give them extra merit points whenever salary adjustments are made? Do we have an appreciation night, dinner, or give them awards? Let's ask them. Let's find out how our institutional champions of service learning would like to be rewarded and recognized. Finally, can we create rewards and incentives for our faculty, our staff, and our students to really promote community engaged learning, community service learning through the scholarship of teaching and learning of service learning? What is it really that we are learning in the programs that we call CSL or CEL? Over the years, what have we learned through our students' practicum and internships in the field, or the many community outreach that we have done? Have we published anything about them and shared our learning to the rest of the world? Can we support our faculty and students to co-publish together articles, not just in peer-reviewed journals, but perhaps books and other types of publication? In summary, I have shown you that service learning is capacity building with common social, economic, and political benefits, aligned with our broader development objectives in the Philippines, and our sustainable development goals and our international commitments to the SDGs. We're doing this through community interest articulation and through our own public engagement with communities. We're also able to assist in social integration, particularly the voices and bodies from which we rarely hear about because of their rather marginalized position. The other benefit clearly that I see is that we're able to connect our students to job markets as they're able to build their confidence by gaining very marketable skills through their work experience and the social networks, professional networks that they develop. And this is a very good stepping stone towards professionalized outsourcing our academic research services and other functions. And on the part of the universities, we need to think about how the CSL and CEL gain greater legitimacy and recognition by our administrators and leaders. How do we include CSL and CEL programs in our own identity and vision as a university, our systems and procedures? Are they included in our monitoring and evaluating the performance and results of our universities? In our governance and leadership structures? Are they well recognized and integrated? Are we supporting them well through our resource mobilization? Are we using our public administration community service programs in developing more dense and effective relationships and broader networks? And are we using them for stronger multiple advocacy, policy advocacy on all fronts? These are many challenges that I have posed to you all, and I look forward to any questions that you might have for me. Marami pong salamat. Magandang umaga sa inyong lahat.
All right. So thank you so much, Dr. Leonora C. Angeles, of course, once again, Professor of Women's and Gender Studies undergraduate program of the University of British Columbia and the Director of Institute for Gender, Race, Sexuality, and Social Justice Associate. Right. Thank you once again for that very enlightening and thought-provoking lecture, Dr. Angeles. Indeed, we need to collaborate in bridging the gap between theoretical concept learned in the classroom and real-world application, underscoring the significance of community engagement and the impact of students-led initiatives. And finally, service learning should be seen in two-way street where both the community and the students benefit. Again, you can visit our Facebook page and YouTube channel at Ateneo CLG, where you can watch this session and, of course, our previous webinar. At this point, ladies and gentlemen, to facilitate the open forum and allow the vibrant exchange of thoughts of our audience and allow it to unite with the expertise of our speaker, let me now give you the limelight. Let me now give the limelight to the Dean of the Graduate School and the Director for Center for Local Governance of the Ateneo de Naga University, and at the same time, the Public Information Officer of Association of Schools of Public Administration in the Philippines. A virtual round of applause to Dr. Malu C. Barcelian. Dean?
So thank you, Charles. Thank you for the insightful presentation, Dr. Nora. So the presentation covered what we mean by extension and service learning in the current context. And as she coined it, we have climate helplessness, algorithmic, overreaching into surveillance in our new normal. And it can also turn out to be collective, hopelessness, authoritarian, offensive, security, and sovereignty. And this is chaos as described by Ma'am Nora. She also highlighted public administration and its role in addressing our current chaotic pathos or the populist authoritarian threats harming our sustainability. She clarified terms of reference on service learning in public administration, and she also made a case for community service and engaged learning, and she also identified strategic areas for community service learning and community engaged learning in university extension programs. So at this point, let's now have the open forum. I'll start off with those questions which were actually provided to us, which we generated from the registration form. Actually, we only have few questions here. I'll just choose those which are closely related to our topic this morning. So I'll start off with the first one, Ma'am Nora. Okay, so what is the best practice in transcending theories to applications through service learning? Ma'am,
You know, hello.
yes, ma'am. Okay, go ahead po.
I think my first response to that is interrogating the very term best practices. In that we are so used to hearing this jargon, no? Best practices that has become in vogue, in great use internationally, no? Within international development, as if best practices as a terminology suggests that one best practice or practices in one locality can be easily translatable or adapted and a practice in another setting. No? So I actually prefer the term instead of best practices as what I would call exemplary or effective practice. No? From my own experience, that's why I said it's about transcending theories to application by applying, I mean really strengthening our knowledge, no? Strengthening our knowledge by reading a lot about examples of effective service learning programs around the world, but without assuming that they are the best practices immediately to be emulated and transferred blindly, no, to our context. What I'm saying here is that the knowledge that needs to be strengthened will have to be locally generated. So I could only share you what I have read based on a lot of American universities are doing CSL. Canadian universities are also doing a lot of CSL. And yet I probably have a lot of stories as well when CSL do not succeed, or when there are a lot of things that go wrong, you know, in a CSL program, or in a public humanities type of program that also uses CSL. So, but even those disaster stories on CSL, I would say, are also giving us knowledge, precautionary tales, cautionary tales from which we could learn. No? So I think by reading, we can strengthen our knowledge. So for me, that's one principle. Learning by doing and trying it out, no? And learning from the how do CSL practitioners in other places, let's say Bulacan State University, for instance, PUP, Public Polytechnic University, and they have long-standing community outreach service learning program. How do they design their courses? You know, how do they ensure that the course design, with readings, with related lectures, seminars before we get the students out in the field, can we share examples of those course design? And then how can we adapt this using our own knowledge base? So I guess what I'm saying here is that it's your situation in your community, in your public administration school, that will have to determine, okay, along with your previous record of community collaboration and engagement, whether it's with the LGU or with the local schools, public health institutions, those local experiences will determine how you will eventually generate the local knowledge needed in order to develop your most effective practice as you learn by doing. There is no other way.
Yes, so
We
thank
have
you.
to try it at a certain point.
Yes.
Okay?
So thank you, Ma'am Nora. Though, of course, you shared some cases which you have done in Canada in your own academic institution, including what you had here in Naga and Bulacan State University. So we'll have the one, I think Dr. Erwin is also raising his hand. He has a question to raise. So, Sir Erwin?
Hello po. Can you hear
Yes,
me?
sir.
First of all, thank you, Dr. Angeles, for your presentation. And while you were presenting, I just remembered lang the question recently in the Senate about the National Service Training Program. I'm not sure if you're familiar with NSTP. Familiar po ba kayo?
Hindi masyado, sir.
Okay, so in the early 90s po, people were required to do ROTC. That's
yes.
military service training, and I think part of the contribution of the Pahinungod before was there was a lobby to give students an option for service training. So instead of ROTC, you could do NSTP. So students now, if you're talking about institutionalizing service learning programs, one way by which universities now institutionalize service programs is through NSTP. So, kunyari kami sa public ad, we offer NSTP. In engineering, we offer NSTP. In music, we offer NSTP. And NSTP, in a way, parang the students for 2 semesters go to the field. So, kunyari, some of our students now work with barangays. One is doing elevating local agricultural small business through product promotion in Botocan. One is doing an informative basic health and wellness workshop for women in UP campus. Another is doing jewelry making. Another is parent teaching seminars. Anyway, my question po with this regard to your presentation is this. How do you evaluate such programs, service learning programs, not evaluate the learning of the students po, but in general, the broader impact of such programs? Are there ways for evaluating them? Kasi I know of a doctoral student who actually wants to look at NSTP as a dissertation topic. And in relation to the question raised in the Senate, kasi yung ROTC, ano na yun parang people were talking about, wala namang impact yung ROTC. So the question is, what's the impact of NSTP naman? So my question for you po is, how do you evaluate the impact of such kinds of programs?
Because, sir, if I may answer your question indirectly first, no? My observation is that institutionally, our universities are not as good at impact assessment. No? It's a skill that we have not learned officially. I'm a political science graduate. No? And I would argue that IA, whether it's social impact assessment, environmental impact assessment, program impact assessment, just like what could be done with an NSTP, right? We lack the skills. And I think it is unconscionable, I think, unacceptable, that for a country of 110, 115 million, we only have one major school of planning, yung School of Urban and Regional Planning at UP. I think it's about time that our schools of public administration reinvent themselves to become planning schools and teach impact assessment in all its various forms, including the program monitoring and assessment that you're talking about. Once we learn perhaps the knowledge and skills and aptitudes and that are essential to impact assessment, I would say that we are in a better position to really guide a graduate student or an army, a whole army of graduate students who could easily do their master's thesis or dissertation, right, about the topic. But this is something that I will say, as someone who has taught SIA to students. I always believe in the power of locally generated indicators of success. That to assess the impact of a program like NSTP or any other program for that matter, we can combine what I might call externally generated indicators from outside, top down, that experts might have been thinking about for some time. And this we could do easily, right? Let's say you mentioned jewelry making, no? Jewelry making is a specific skill, right? What would be the impact of that as an example, no? You can look at it in terms of how much income had been raised by households, particularly women, and we do know how feminized, right? Jewelry making is as a form of craft making, right? So that might be one example of an indicator we can use with regards to its impact on income, impact on the lives of women, right? Or impact on other jewelry makers in the community that might now be facing new competition, right? From this new skill that the local women are learning. But I think more broadly is how connected is jewelry making in terms of vertical and horizontal integration with the rest of the local economy. Okay? Ano yung mga spin-off effects nito, no? So, you can go and evaluate a very specific type of project like that, one whole year, right? But it will really depend on the scale. Kasi yung scale siguro ng jewelry making, very specific, skills-based, and then it might involve only, one barangay, 10 barangays, one entire town, right? So the scale is also important for us to consider. So we can look at the typical impacts, and we can develop indicators in terms of the economic impact, household income as an example, social impacts, whether women were able to develop, for instance, more dense community networks as a result of their jewelry making skills, as they meet other women doing jewelry making. What about the political impacts? Did any of the women involved in jewelry making eventually translate their social skills into, let's say, running for the local barangay office? Or what about the kinds of advocacy work that had been generated by the women as they engage in this type of skill? So again, locally generated indicators, also expert-driven indicators, and for in determining what sort of impacts we should be measuring. So I hope I answer your question, Dr. Anampay. And I look forward to maybe thinking about this question more using other examples that you have mentioned earlier.
Okay, so
Thank you po.
okay, so thank you, Ma'am Nora. Yeah, so I think the use of the indicators for us to measure and determine, of course, the impact of what we're doing in our community. Okay, so let's move to the next question, which we were able to get from the registration form. Though you covered this already, Ma'am Nora, in your presentation, I think it's important also to give emphasis, because the question is, why is it important to utilize the new way or process of imparting knowledge to the students? So why is it important to utilize the new way or process of imparting knowledge to the students? I think it's because we're talking about here community service learning and community engaged learning, a way for us to link, to translate concretely the theories into actions. Okay, Ma'am Nora, please.
Kung itatranslate ko siguro yung tanong na yan, Malu, no? Parang tinatanong niya, bakit kailangan tayong makibagay sa mga makabagong kaalaman? Ano?
Opo.
Kasi scholar tayo Kasi akademiko tayo, kasi educator tayo, no? Hindi pwede na, hindi ba nung estudyante naman tayo, when we were students, no? Sino yung gusto nating teacher? Yung teacher na alam makisakay sa kasalukuyang kalagayan ng mga estudyante, or do you prefer learning from the students na nagbabasa na naninilaw ng mga note cards na 19 kopong-kopong pa na mga pinag-aralan nila nung sila estudyante din tulad natin? O yung for instance, this is something na has really bothered me, no? Even as an educator. We have been teaching our students skills and knowledge that are mainly suited for the current world, but we are not adequately preparing them for a world that they will experience 10, 20 years from now. You know, even as a parent, I feel I have failed. I have not prepared my students, my own children, for the impact and the onslaught of social media in their lives. I had no way to know when I had my two kids that by 2014, internationally in North America and in Europe, there would be a 75% increase in mental health among teenagers in this part of the world, around the same time when Instagram and Facebook came up. Who among us as parents had prepared our kids for this? And now there is artificial intelligence, right? How many of our students are using ChatGPT, right? In their homework, readily accessible, but it's essentially a form of cheating that they're doing. But are we adequately training our own children, our own students to become prompt engineers so that they could really make good use of AI in their own learning instead of nangongopya lang or ginagamit ito to hide their own insecurities, for instance, whether it's about grammar or about, you know, designing a research project. How are we really integrating all these different forms of AI platforms into the learning of ourselves as educators, and of course, guiding our students how to use AI platforms more effectively? So, kailangan ho tayo talagang makisabay at maki-adapt kasi adaptation is in our DNA as human beings, especially when we so decide to become teachers and educators. We have to continuously learn ourselves because teaching is a very good reason, not just an excuse for learning.
Yes, thank you, Ma'am Nora. Oo, alam naman po natin yan. Most especially that we are all from the academic institutions. So I think we don't have questions from the viewing platforms that we're using at this time. Wala na po. Oo. So we are formally closing this open forum. So at this point, on behalf of the Ateneo Dinaga University Graduate School and the Center for Local Governance and the Association of Schools of Public Administration in the Philippines, Incorporated, as we conclude this webinar series on navigating the pedagogy of public administration in the new normal, I would like to express thanks to all those who provided support and assistance to accomplish this activity. As you all know, we covered 3 sessions focusing on appropriating pedagogical strategies in the delivery of public management, administration, and governance, or PMAG education in the new normal, also developing research to strengthen PMAG education in response to societal issues, and lastly, this one on transcending theories to application through service learning. Our esteemed speakers, namely Dr. Christopher Berce, Dean of the UP-NCPAG, Dr. Ador Torneo, Director of the Jesse Robledo Institute of Governance of De La Salle University, and Dr. Leonora Angeles, the Director of the Institute of Gender, Race, Sexuality, and Social Justice of the University of British Columbia, provided significant inputs which are not only confined and focused on the field of public administration, management, and governance, but to other programs as well. As we transition to what we refer to now as the new normal after the pandemic, it is just important to equip ourselves with appropriate pedagogical strategies that enable new types of learning activities that can engage students in meaningful interactions with others and the course content, those that can elevate the learning activities by including real-world skills that benefit students beyond the classroom, and those that can extend the time, place, and ways that students can master learning objectives. Also, we were given ways on how we can come up with studies and research that provide insight into the needs and concerns of society, informing policymakers and decision makers about the best ways to address social issues, including its help to evaluate the effectiveness of policies and programs, ensuring that they achieve their intended outcomes. Further, the session this morning allowed us to appreciate the interaction of knowledge and skills with experience, which is key to learning, and this is what we call a service learning. So again, maraming salamat po, and I'll now turn the virtual floor to Charles.
All right, thank you so much, Dean Malu, for facilitating our open forum and, of course, giving us the closing message. So, ladies and gentlemen, we also thank our speaker, Dr. Leonora C. Angeles, and we have reached the concluding segment of our webinar. But before we wrap up, it's time to express our gratitude with Dr. Angeles by giving her our certificate of appreciation. Okay, so citation reads, the Ateneo Dinaga University Center for Local Governance, together with the Graduate School, awards the Certificate of Appreciation to Dr. Leonora C. Angeles for unselfishly sharing her time, knowledge, and expertise as resource speaker during the session on social involvement of the webinar series on navigating the pedagogy of public administration in new normal, entitled Transcending Theories to Application Through Service Learning, in partnership with the Association of Schools of Public Administration in the Philippines, Incorporated, ASPAP, held on November 10, 2020, 9 to 10:30 a.m. Philippine Standard Time, live via the ADNO Center for Local Governance Facebook page. Signed, Roberto Ezequiel N. Rivera, SJ, President of the Ateneo Dinaga University. Signed, Dr. Malu C. Barciliano, the Dean of the Graduate School. and the Director for Center for Local Governance, signed Dr. Mishville A. Rivera, President of the Association of Schools and Public Administration in the Philippines, or ASPAP Incorporated. Once again, a virtual round of applause to Dr. Leonora C. Angeles. Thank you so
Maraming
much.
salamat po. Thank you so much for the invitation, and I look forward to working again with ASPAP and of course the Center for Local Governance at the Ateneo de Naga University. Naga City is one of my favorite cities to go to whenever I'm in the Philippines. I'm looking forward to seeing Dr. Barceliano again and our other friends at ADNU. Maraming salamat.
All right, so thank you so much once again, Dr. Angeles. Before we end, on behalf of the Ateneo CLG and the Association of Schools of Public Administration in the Philippines Incorporated, we would like to invite everyone to visit or revisit our previous webinar series through our official Facebook account and YouTube channel, the Ateneo CLG. So these accounts will be flashed on screen. And for everyone, we will request kindly to input through the evaluation. Your feedback is essential for us to improve and offer you more enriching experiences in the future. So the evaluation links will also be provided and shared with you. So flashed on screen are the social media accounts, the Facebook and YouTube channel, where you could access to rewatch our previous webinars, including the ones we had today. So with this, we conclude our third webinar on navigating the pedagogy of public administration in the new normal with the topic Transcending Theories to Application through Service Learning. We thank each one of you for being part of this enlightening session. Maraming salamat po and have a wonderful day. Once again, Charles Michael Castillo Salas, your host, Diyos Mabalos sa Indogabos.